Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We are really thrilled to have you here for our webinar today, Leveraging Flag Data to Drive Student Success. My name is Jennifer Caius, and I am Mentor Collective's Customer Education Manager, and I'll be supporting facilitation of today's webinar. I'll be joined today by my fabulous colleague, Shannon LeCount, who is Vice President of Strategic Initiatives here at Mentor Collective. Today, we're going to explore the automatic features of flags, such as how to send all finance-related flags to your institution's Fine Aid office. We'll also dive into the utility of flag exports when using that data to perform other analyses, such as retention reports, and how to connect those exports to software you already use. So really good content, flags, data, really good stuff. I'm excited to dive into it. Let's get started. Couple housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. We will share the recording with you afterwards in a follow-up email, along with some related educational resources, so some articles to our Partner Knowledge Center and additional content that could be helpful for you in understanding flags and flag exports. On the screen, you'll also see a few best practices for ensuring your virtual experience with us today is seamless. While Shannon is presenting today's learnings, I'll also be available to answer questions in the chat. And then finally, at the end of today's session, we'll have a Q&A. If you want to come off mute, join in the conversation, ask Shannon or myself anything that's on your mind, you're welcome to do so towards the end of the webinar. All right, with that, I will pass it over to you, Shannon, and take it away.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm the Shannon she keeps mentioning. Hopefully my face popped up on your screen. We are not going to be answering a question right now, but during the presentation, we will be answering a question using mentee.com. You'll be putting this number in to respond to the question. I just wanted to give you a little heads up, give you this opportunity to open up a browser or a window and set up mentee.com so that you are ready to go when we have the question along the way. Like Jen said, we are going to talk about flags today. Here's the things that we have for the learnings we have intended for you. We are going to talk about automatic feature flags today. We're going to talk about setting up features and exports. We're going to talk about how this fits into your greater success strategy and talk a little bit about automation. If you have been to presentations before or even last month, we did talk about flags. There will be a little bit of a review. So for those of you who weren't at the last one, don't worry, we're going to catch you up. We're going to give you just enough that you need to know. And for those of you who were at the last flag webinar, don't worry, it's not a repeat. We're going to talk about some new things, but you will recognize some of the content. I want to draw your eye to the lower left-hand corner of this slide. For those of you who are familiar with our framework for creating a culture of mentorship on campus. This is an article that is in our Partner Knowledge Center. It is, stay tuned, or spoiler alert, there will be some more even better articles coming out soon. But these are the 6 elements that we, through our work with partners, have found to make a successful culture of mentorship on campus. And a lot of what we're going to talk today connects to those elements of visibility, of being data-driven, of being partner-centered. So anytime you see that little icon, know that this is one of those best practices or things that make a strong culture of mentorship on your campus. So first, I want to do a quick review of how flags, because we're talking about flags today, how flag data even get into the system for you to respond to, for you to analyze, for you to get to. You should be seeing on your screen right now, I'm confirming in my own little cheater window that you are seeing the view that a mentor would have. So when you match up mentors and mentees, they typically will have conversations with each other via text, they'll meet in person, they'll chat on the phone, but there's an opportunity for them to access a number of things, some resources and discussion guides, but also the ability to learn about each other. Mentors can see mentee goals, but this is also one of the ways that they can log conversations. Mentors may get a little nudge to record a conversation, or they may be proactive and log it themselves. It's as simple as clicking log a conversation for any one of their mentees. And what they're going to see when they do that is the opportunity to check boxes under a couple of different questions. First of all, how did you meet? Was it in person? Were you meeting on the phone? This matters. We like to know how people are getting together within the mentorship program. The next question are, what are the general topics you talked about? It's multiple choice, so they can talk about all the different, or multiple select, so they can indicate all of the different things that they talked about with their mentee. Most importantly, for the purposes of this presentation is, did your mentee express any concerns? Now, in training, they're guided to address those concerns to the degree they can, but then if there's someone on campus to address those concerns, to report them, but also let the mentee know that they're going to share that information within the mentorship program. And there are a number of what we call flag topics that they can address. As soon as, and they can also add some notes here if there's context that they want to provide for it. As soon as they click submit, that information is available to you all on your partner dashboard. Let me just get rid of this and make sure I get back to the dashboard. It's going to be available on your partner dashboard. So for all of you who run programs and those of you or those you work with who have access to the dashboard, you're going to be able to find that information immediately under the engagement tab on the home page. It defaults to flag information, but remember both the conversation or the things they talked about and the flag information will show up on this dashboard. So that's a quick review of how that information even gets to be available to you. We are going to talk about flags, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to just put a plug in for the conversation data. So when I'm talking about flags and conversations, one of the ways I describe the differences in them is conversation topics are collectively actionable, right? When you look at your dashboard and you look at conversation data, you're going to get a summary of when students are talking about or specific topics. You'll be able to see trends, but you'll be able to see which topics are the most important. And this is great for planning for your next program. I don't know if y'all noticed, but it's July, so we have new programs probably either starting already or students will be coming back to campus soon. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to share some ideas for how to use that conversation information. The three, and this is being data driven, by the way, that's why you're going to see the framework icon in the corner. So the three of the most common conversation topics in the data that I looked at is getting to know each other. We do a lot of great work preparing the mentor and introducing the mentors and the mentees through the platform. But there's also a lot of opportunities to bring either virtually or in-person mentors and mentees together. So think about a key in-person or virtual event that you could help to supplement them getting to know each other and maybe even meet other mentorship pairs if possible. Another common topic is staying balanced. Now, this is something we address with students all the time. This isn't something we're going to forget about, but it's easy to talk about and hard to do. So if you have the concept of staying balanced in your first year experience or in your orientation materials or just around campus, this is please know that it's important, and maybe within those other programs, remind them that if you have a peer mentor or if you're part of the mentorship program, this is a great topic or a great thing to talk about with your mentor because they are ready to share the ways that they stay balanced, the ways they stay healthy on campus. Finally, do not forget about the other button. Now, we often will dismiss things like others when the box is checked for other, but look at those notes for each of those conversation topics because they have important information. Parking. A lot of times they're talking about parking, and a lot of times if a student can't park, they're not going to stay around campus. So just look at the notes around the conversation topics that are about other things to see what other types of trends or conversations that are happening on your campus, because that can really help you add content or make some lives easier for students when your program gets started again. Enough about conversations. Let's move on to, let's talk about the flags and the reason we're here today. So this should look familiar if you were in the last presentation, but when you set up your mentorship program, whether it's the second or third or fourth or fifth year of partnering with us, there are some default flags for what we call a student success program, right? So we have students coming in and they're being connected with peer mentors. That's any peer mentorship program is a success-focused program. There are some default flags, and they fall into you're looking at the topic labels here, but they fall into broad categories. There's operational things like financial concerns, right? The things that financial aid or other sources or scholarship offices can help with. There's what I call academic pathway type of flags. So academic concerns or thinking about switching majors or transferring schools or even dropping out. That's another category. There are the human elements, right? Roommate conflicts or family conflict, right? There that might be might have a different path if flags show up in those areas. Things like homesickness or roommate conflict might be an element of your housing office that could be important. There are certain really immediate and important things that we want to make sure you know about so that you can help students, things like housing and food insecurity or immigration status. And then, of course, items like depression or anxiety or wellness, those should go to the, or those are information for the health and wellness and care teams. And then there's that other too. Don't forget to look at that. But these are the default flags. If you didn't know, this is what shows up in that checkbox for the mentors to flag things. How can you use that information though? The first place and way you can use that information is within your dashboard or your partner dashboard. I grabbed an example here from a set of data and filtered down to what I referred to earlier as those academic flags and then one immediate basic needs flag. And a few things I want to point out. So earlier I said conversation topics are collectively actionable, right? We want to have programs or resources available for everyone who's having those conversations. Flags are individually actionable, right? They are something that's happening to an individual student and require individual responses oftentimes. They can't usually wait, and they're not usually for the whole group, although trends are important to look at. One trend you're going to see here is that both these academic and basic needs flags peak right at the time, if this is a semester-based campus, right at the end of the semester when students are suddenly going to have, like school might be closed or services might not be accessible. So this is a good time to pay attention to when those flags are peaking. Some of the actions that we have learned from our partners that I want to share with you, in addition to responding directly to the mentees, are actions in response for the mentors. First of all, thank them. Nothing can be done about this information if the mentors aren't sharing this information and having those interactions with the mentees. So acknowledgement, celebration, one of the elements of a successful mentorship, that's a good thing to do. Also, for these academic topics, encourage them to have conversations. We can nudge them with messages or send a specific message that says, there's specific processes involved in switching majors. Thanks for letting us know. And here's the discussion guide that's great to help when you're talking to your mentees about that. Action can also include advisors. You can give advisors dashboard access if you want. I see some names on the screen that suggest that there is advising represented here. Dashboard access can help quickly narrow down who is considering switching majors or dropping out or transferring. And that's good for advisors to know so that they can help students and for whatever reasons those flags are coming up. If dashboard access isn't correct or right or preferable, then there's also a list that we can provide, but we're going to talk about how to do that in a minute. And finally, there's again speaking directly with the mentees for these basic needs information. So wellness or housing insecurity or food insecurity, you want to make sure that you respond to those as soon as possible. So getting the either checking the dashboard regularly so that you can see the alerts and the ways or when those flags become available, or yourself receiving the emails when those flags happen is really important to be able to respond as quickly and as meaningfully as possible. You don't have to take my word for it, though. As you all know, because you're partners, you will know that we ask you questions from time to time. This might also look familiar from the last webinar. This is what partners are telling us. These are the actions they're taking in response to flags. And over 50% of the people who've responded to this partner education survey have said that they are personally reaching out to mentees. And that is great to hear and great to know. That's the most important thing for flags. They're also sharing flags with other offices, something we're going to talk about a lot in the second half of this presentation. And then they're also personally reaching out to the mentors, which I think is great. That was what I suggested earlier, but that's what we want to see. We will also cover these areas where it's not it isn't more than half of respondents, but also entering flags into another system and exporting the data for analysis. That's why we're having the topic we're having today. We want to talk about those elements. let me just take a moment to say, I might make a strange face. I have a sneeze. I might sneeze during this presentation. Hopefully I won't, but just letting you know. Okay, who are our partners sharing with? This is coming from the same partner education survey. Who, when they say we're sharing flag information with other offices, who could they be? And again, it depends on the goals of the program. If there's an enrollment focused program, then recruitment partners, both internally and externally, will be important to share with. If it's about student success, then deans of students and academic advisors and tutoring teams are really good, are important to share with. We also need to remind our supervisors that we're doing our job. So institutional research can benefit from flag data, but also our department chairs and our supervisors and the folks and the provosts and the student affairs offices should get these details along the way. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. I'm going to also pause here and remind you, if you have questions, if you have things to say, if you have stories to share, like, hey, we do that, put it in the chat. Jen is there and I'm terrible at monitoring the chat while talking, but Jen is very good at it. So she'll have us covered. Okay. I keep saying share this information, or our partners are sharing information with outside of the mentorship program with other colleagues on campus. But how is that possible? There's actually a lot of different share options available. And the share options, the right share option for you depends on who the audience is and what sort of access they should have, or what their day-to-day is like and what they need to know. We're going to go over all of these. First of all, dashboard access. That means anyone who has dashboard access has the same access to the data that you have. That is the all-encompassing Wizard of Oz type of access. We're going to talk about elements of being an email recipient for flag data. I'll get into the details of that. There's also an option to export in a filtered way, so narrow down a list of students that have a particular flag or a particular need and sharing with the right person. And then there's also an option for automation that I will talk about in a little bit more detail than you've ever heard before. Not a lot of detail, but a little bit more. Okay, so let's talk configurations. You talk to your program success or your partner success manager if you would like additional people to have access to the dashboard. That's an easy fix. Another fairly easy solution for sharing is what we call the different email recipients. So first of all, I'll just remind you that the flag topics that are default can be relabeled or hidden, right? You don't have to have them exactly as they are. I will give you a little tip. You don't want to relabel them in a radical way, because they actually are hard-coded to resources that can be shared with the mentors and the mentees based on the flag. So you want to keep them within the same category or area. But if it's a vernacular or a term or something that is more specific and more personalized to your campus, then we can relabel things in those ways. Also, if there's just a topic you don't want there or isn't relevant to your program, we can absolutely hide those flag topics if you want. Jen in the chat has shared how to do that. So thank you, Jen. Now let's talk about another configuration. The screenshot you're looking at on the screen is probably not familiar to you, and that's because it's the Wizard of Oz view, right? It's what your partner success team can do for you, and that's setting up email recipients based on specific flags. And there are 3 categories of who receives those type emails for flags. There is the primary email recipient, right? Every flag that comes out, that person gets an email about those. It's great for folks like you all who are deeply involved in the program or running the program and need to see all the flags, and you prefer to get that information for an email. I would say a dashboard is more easily filterable and navigable, but if you need them in an email for a lot of very valid reasons, you absolutely can get those. There's also assigned advisors. If you want to share the advising matchups we can have within the system, then advisors can get emails about flags for their advisees. So that's another setup that you can talk to your success team to set up. And finally, there's a recipient by topic, and it sounds like a singular, but it can be more than one. If there is someone in a particular office who is the one or two, it's the office to respond to a particular flag topic, you can have it set up so that they receive the email specifically for that flag topic, and they will not get cluttered with the other flags that they're not responsible for or not relevant to, but they will have the information as soon as possible. And this is making sure the program is visible. It's being student-centered because it is their flags, right? It's the things that need to be acted on, and definitely data-driven because it's this peer insight that's going to the right office. Pausing to see if you have any questions. Okay, so now is when we get to use the Menti. Please go to menti.com. I'm going to share this letter, these numbers in another way, but you will type in this code to respond to the question I am about to present now. So which of these titles, this is a ranking question, right? You can slide them up or down. You don't have to rank every single one. But which of these titles, think about your campus, your institution, would benefit from direct mentorship data, meaning they either have access to the dashboard, or they are an email recipient of some kind, or they'll receive an export, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Which of these would benefit directly from mentorship data? And I'm hoping at least one person answers the question, or the data comes in. Seeing in the chat, is anyone, the code is right at the top, 42844611. Yay! Okay, here we go. Right now, advisors and residence hall staff, I love that. I have been talking about the the importance of sharing information with residence hall staff along the way. For sure, advisors. Looks like we're in agreement. I'm going to give it a few more seconds. Oh, advisors is definitely winning. I love it. There's arguments for every single title along the way here. Dean of Students, one of my best friends is a Dean of Students, and she would be very happy to know that she is considered as someone who would benefit from these data. All righty. This is great. You can keep responding. I'm not going to close this out. This is really useful information. And not only is it good for you all to see right now where if your rankings fit in with what your peers are, but this also helps us think about future webinars and what we could do with this information. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating in this, and hopefully we'll come back to it. Okay. I want to do a quick demo of where flag data shows up in the dashboard. You may already know this. You may have already been to one of the presentations where we've shared this before, but I want to give you some context for where that flag data shows up. So mentor logs a conversation, indicates there's a flag. On the first page of your partner dashboard, when you scroll down to the engagement tab, you are going to see both conversation and flag data. You can see a longitudinal view, seeing where things are peaking and how many of each of those flags have happened over time. But you can also see a distribution view, right? To see what percentage of, or not what percentage, but what segment of flags is more represented. I'm going to go ahead and look at housing and food security. I want to point out that I clicked on the pie chart in a very specific area, and it took me right to a filtered view, right? If our students are having housing or food insecurity, we need to know that right away. You're probably going to find out in the alert at the top of the dashboard, but if you want to look at a list, or if you need to share a list with someone, just by clicking on that category, it will take you right to those students who have that need. The other place that you can find all your flag data is by clicking on the flags page. Now you're going to look at this right now and you're going to say this looks awfully empty. And that's because this program is great and has addressed all their flags. If I want to see all the flags, all of the ones that have been addressed or no longer need to be addressed, I can click on all flags. Now, again, if we're coming into the beginning of the traditional school year, and there may be some flags that are more relevant or more prominent than they would be at other times of year. One of those I'm going to look at is homesickness, right? We're going to have students who are going to start coming to our campuses, either moving on campus or being away from their family during the day when they're not used to. We want to know students who are struggling with that. And so being able to look at all of the flags and narrow down, again, to the question we want to ask is really easy to do. It's as simple as applying those filters. One thing I want to point out, if you didn't already know, is if you expand the menu for each of these flags, you can see the details of it, right? You can see what the topic was, if there were other conversations that were happening during that interaction. You're going to see comments from the mentor. So any of that textual information that's important for you to know. And this is also where you can be active in helping the students, either the people who are responding to it, or you yourself, the person who's checking this flag. There are statuses, right? You can say if it is actionable, and once you have acted on it, you can click it as resolved. You can also share some notes, and there's a lot of our partners are really using this effectively to make sure that they're not just knowing that students are having these issues, but they're knowing what has happened. They're knowing who has responded to it and what has been done for this. Now, of course, this is really easy to do if you have dashboard access, but you may not want or someone who is a good audience for this information may not be a good candidate for having full access to the dashboard. One example might be residence hall advisors, right? They need to know a lot about their students, but not maybe everything that's in the mentorship program, in which case the sharing with them might be best to do with either the direct email or an export of a list of students who have housing related, roommate conflict, or homesickness kind of issues. And to do that, you can just export this filtered view, right? I can do that right now. I'm going to get these 2 flags for these 2 students, and it's really easy for me to share that with a residence hall advisor or whoever might be able to work with this student based on those flags. Third way that you can get flag information and exports, and that is going to the exports page. We're still in the partner dashboard. We just navigated to the bottom page. And you'll notice among the many exports that you can use that there is a priority flags data export. And this will, when you click export, I got a nice little demo version for you here. It will give you an Excel file of all the information associated with all of the flags in your program. So this is a comprehensive view. This is the raw data, if you will, right? The dashboard front page gives you an aggregate view. The flags page gives you an individual view. And this is an aggregate view of the individual data, right? Can be super overwhelming, but also can be super meaningful. And I want to show you a couple of ways of thinking about using these exports, not just sending the whole file to someone, although your IR office may have great value in knowing where's the details about when students are struggling. But I also want it to be useful to you to use the export. And so I want to share some examples. The first thing I'm going to point out to is what is yellow highlighted. The export doesn't come out highlighted. I did that for the purposes of this presentation. But these two columns here, one is support priority and then flag status. Remember when I said you could write notes about an action that happened with a flag and you could indicate if it was resolved or not? That's where those data show up right here. And the reason this is useful is to highlight all of the great work you're doing, because my suggestion for you is to provide status reports to your supervisors. You are doing a ton of work, either passing this information on to the other offices or responding to these students yourselves. And to know that multiple flags have come in and they have all been resolved because the right action was taken place, that is something the people who have decided to have this program on campus are going to like to hear. So in this case, in this data I looked at, 100% of immediate priority flags were resolved. That's a really good data point to share with a supervisor. Let me show you these other 2 data points and where they come from. In the export, you're going to see where it says submit or comment. Any notes that the mentor typed in for this flag are going to show up in that column. So again, you can look at all of it in one place without clicking into each one individually. There might be a reason to do that. But the school notes also show up in the export. So all of those follow-up details that were shared by the person who responded, whether it's you or your colleagues on campus, are going to show up as well. And what I did very quickly with just a Control F was to look at how many of those ended up going to a counseling or a wellness center, how many of those went to financial aid, and how many of those went to the tutoring center. So mentorship is part of a student success strategy, right? It is a source of students, helping students find the offices that can help them be successful. And tutoring and counseling and financial aid are 3 of those areas. So I hope you're still there. My Zoom just disappeared for a second. So that's what I decided to share with your supervisors. 25 of the flags directly went to counseling. The people who are in charge of counseling want to know that those resources are being utilized, and they like to know how students end up there, especially if they're sent there in a meaningful way. And 17 direct referrals to tutoring, right? If students are struggling academically and they were directly referred to tutoring, and tutoring is doing their work, that is a student success strategy well done. One other way I want to talk about the export, and then I promise we'll be coming near the end and we'll just talk about automation. So that is target population analysis. I want you to hang with me for just a second. Please do not get overwhelmed by this. But when we look at the export, there's all kinds of information on there, and you could stare at this export all day. But what I'm going to do is highlight this aqua column here, and this is the mentee's age at the time of sign up, right? When mentors and mentees fill out their matching survey, they indicate how old they are at that time. This is useful because adult students are a special population that we need to know the challenges they have, right? They might have challenges that are different than our traditional age students coming in. I wanted to know that. So I created a little pivot table. I took all of the students who were 25 or older, that's the typical definition of the adult student, and I looked at the flags that came in for those adult students. I had a theory that it would be family issues or maybe childcare or some other issue that would show up. I was completely wrong. In most cases, it was academic struggles in most cases it was academic or the major therein. But I took a look at the notes for the others as well, and they were mostly the system isn't working for them, right? They couldn't verify their registration, or they didn't know about their financial aid. It had nothing to do with those other things. And this was important because I had made an assumption about what those students needed, and I was wrong. I wouldn't have been helping them in the way they wanted to be helped. Now, you might say, no, I'm not an Excel expert. I don't like pivot tables. Get away from me. Just yesterday, we released in our Partner Knowledge Center an article about how to use that data or how to do these type of pivot tables. Emily is your guide in the video, and you couldn't find a nicer person. So I say, if you want to play around with this kind of, or looking at data in these kind of ways, focus on a specific population and then go follow Emily's suggestions, and you'll have a lot of great data and a lot of good successes. Okie doke. Last thing, if you don't like Excel sheets, you might really not like automation, but I'm telling you, it's not that difficult, and it's really great if you wanted to use it. So we have a way of taking information out of Mentor Collective in an automated way, meaning each night it can be flag data can be exported from Mentor Collective into a shared server that your campus can then grab. That sounds not technical because of the words I use, but also maybe overwhelmingly technical. It's called Secure File Transfer Protocol. It is used all over the place. And this lovely graphic will let you know. You may, as a campus, already be doing this because we also take in information in this automated way. Many of our campuses will share the participant lists for who will be invited to the program and registered for the program. And that's often shared from the campus to Mentor Collective. That's using the same system. So again, my point is, flag data can be automated each night to a server where your campus or your institution can then pull those files up. It is encrypted on the way out of Mentor Collective and decrypted on the way to you in the ways you can use that. That means you can always have up-to-date files that can be then imported into other systems that make sense. So maybe your student information system is a place where you want to have all of that flag data available from your Mentor Collective program. We could automate that so that you can import it into your student information system. I will tell you, partners have already reported that they are using Mentor Collective data in other systems. I don't know, I can't guarantee they're all automated because you can do these things manually as well, but the three categories that the other systems are: early alert systems, student conduct systems like Maxient, student success systems like Navigate or Simplicity. Those are the other systems that Mentor Collective data is valuable in. But before you run to your IT team and you say, let's get this automated, I talk to the person who runs Navigate, and we want these data in there immediately, please, let's get started on it. It's not complicated, but it's not worth the effort if you haven't answered a few questions first. And I have these questions for you. So the first of all, if you're considering automating into another, or for upload into another system, ask, are peer insights relevant to the purpose of the system, right? So remember, flag data are peers saying a concern about another peer. So mentors talking about mentees. It is often on campus the only source of information that comes from other students. We get lots of alerts from faculty, we get lots of alerts from advisor and staff, but it doesn't always come from other students or the students themselves. So that's really valuable. I'm suspecting that it is valuable in the other systems, but make sure you ask that question so we know what we're talking about. Then who are the users of the software? If it is just a place where information sits and no one goes and looks at that information, it might not be worth the effort to automate it in or to get it into that system. But if it's faculty and success coaches and all of the student success team that is there to know everything about the students so that they can give them holistic support, then it still would be relevant for that information to be in that system. Finally, what is the use, right? I don't want to say this, but a lot of times we have software on campus that people don't use to their full degree, right? So if you have a beautiful student success system and no one ever logs into it, they just send angry, or they're not angry, they just send alerts into that information or into that system, but no one ever uses it, again, might not be valuable. But if it is high use and there is a success team there to gather that information, then it would be very, very valuable. The final thing is what data are necessary, right? You saw that big file of export. Not every piece of information in that file needs to be in another system. So this is a conversation we are happy to guide for you, right? If you want to, in your next check-in with your partner success manager, to say we're thinking about automating, we want to go through the questions, then let's have this conversation. And if you want to invite your IT team, this is IT speak here, we have a data dictionary there where we can say, these are the data available that we can automate. What are the most important? Is it flag topics? Is it the submitter or the mentor comment? Is it the school notes? Let's figure out, let's only pull the information that is necessary for you. So this is a conversation we'd be able to have with your IT team. This data dictionary is available for you for all of our exports. If you find that interesting and you want to dig into it, ask your partner success manager. So in summary, flag data are available throughout the platform, right? They're in multiple places and in multiple aggregate and individual views. So you should be able to use the flags to do the work that you personally need to do or other folks could do using that information. Wherever it is meaningful, please make sure that other people have access to the mentorship data. So it should be reasonable, it should be appropriate, and it should be meaningful. That might mean full dashboard access. That might mean that they're a specific email recipient. It might mean they get exports that are filtered in a way that makes sense to them, or it might mean automation. You don't have to do all of these, but these are all options available to you. Because these are flags and because these are student lives and because we are participant-centered, if we have a culture of mentorship, please act on flags as quickly as possible and in a way that is meaningful for the students. And then be sure you recognize both the mentors for doing the work with the students and sharing this information and yourselves for acting on it and for making sure that all of these things get addressed. So that is where we'll stop and see if you have any questions or if questions came in the chat that I didn't see. And Jen, you want to bring them up for me.
Yeah,
thanks everybody else for paying attention.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I was able to answer some of the direct message chats that came in, but if anyone wants to come off mute and ask Shannon or myself anything directly, you're welcome to do so. We encourage that. We'd love to hear your voices.
Any themes to the questions you were asked that other people might find value in your answers?
Yeah, so interested in the automated transfer. So the ability to do that, and I'll be sure in a follow-up message to send. I'll send this recording as well as some articles, the articles that I linked in the chat to the whole group, and also some articles on outbound and inbound SFTP, just more what that is and what you can do with that at your institution.
Great. Cheryl Ann.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Just a quick comment. I just found I think what you were sharing with the Excel as far as I believe where it was separating the flags, where you had to actually go and see what the flags pertain to. And I'm not describing it correctly, but basically they may have put financial aid, but it really wasn't related to financial aid. So
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they
so
mislabeled or they relabeled in a way that didn't make sense. Yes.
right. So definitely I'll be, diving a little bit deeper into the recording just to kind of, see more about that. So I just
Yep.
wanted to share.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. And remember that that's why we have a partner success team here, so that you can have those conversations. And if there was a mismapping done, then let's get that fixed. Or maybe you discovered something today that you didn't know was available to you, and you can get that started. So thank you, Cheryl Ann.
You're welcome.
In the meantime, while other people are thinking about typing or asking their questions, Jen.
Yeah, so some follow-up resources that I want to highlight. You've seen me in the chat post in some links to our help.mentorcollective.org site. This is our partner knowledge center, and there is a full suite of articles and video content there. It is really updated every single day. That data support article that we linked, actually just fresh off the press, that we just updated yesterday. So when I say every day, I mean every day. Where we put the recordings there, the webinar recordings, clips of the recordings, best practices, templates, recruitment tools, you name it, it's in there. So I really encourage you to head over there to learn best practices, tips, tricks, and to bring those resources to your conversations with your PSM to learn how you could take some of those learnings and apply them to your specific program. We also have the partner support team email that's listed there, partnersupport@mentorcollective.org. This is a super speedy way to get a response to product related questions, technical requests. So dashboard support, maybe you're having trouble with a login, maybe participant communication, micro survey launching, data gathering. That would be a great place to go if you need a very quick turnaround on one of your questions and you don't want to wait until your next check-in with your PSM. So both of those resources, super valuable, and I will make sure that those are both linked in follow-up messaging from this webinar as well. Last but not least, what's on the calendar for August? So coming up, we're going to be unveiling a 3-part series about impact analyses and what you can do with that data. We're going to start with sense of belonging and how you might be able to perform your own impact analyses to find a sense of belonging information with your program. We'll also do another culture of mentorship pullout on visibility, so increasing visibility of your mentorship initiative with some, again, tips and tricks, some best practices, templates, things that you can take to your program tomorrow and use really next day. Lastly, in August, we'll also begin a series called Ask the Expert. So we obviously have a theme this summer on flag exports and data, and you'll have a more personalized session opportunity throughout the month of August where you can come to a small group. It's a very casual opportunity for you to come off mute, come off, put your camera on and chat with us with a data expert to learn more about how to do a flag export. If you have questions, maybe doing a VLOOKUP isn't your thing and you need a little extra support, you're welcome to come to those sessions and learn right alongside your peers and from a Mentor Collective expert. Last but not least, stay in touch with your inbox for these events invitations, as well as I had mentioned before, the follow-up from this webinar, any related video content, and a monthly digest that I'll send out later this month with timely resources that might be relevant for you as your program is launching this fall. And stay in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. If you found this useful and valuable, or you want more flag information, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Let your PSM know, shoot me an email. We'd love to stay in touch.